everyone. My name is Lana. This is the Big Tree Mind podcast. I'm curious about what is your practice of choice? How do you stay engaged and awake in your life? I'm here with my friend Kiana today, and we'll be talking about some of those things.
Yes,
what is your practice of choice?
I want to say yoga because you're here, but I'm not so good at it yet. My practice of choice is actually exercise. I think that playing basketball and swimming, for upwards of 10 hours a week is really the best way I get all that energy and frustration out of my system so that I can be calm for the rest of the time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll just share a little bit about how you and I know each other.
Okay, cool.
You and I actually did some yoga together in Regent Park.
Yes.
Through an organization called the New Leaf Yoga Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And New Leaf actually offers free yoga classes throughout the city still. So feel free to check them out if you're looking.
Sure.
Yeah, make sure you check them out if you're looking for some free yoga classes.
I might actually check them out after this interview.
Yeah, awesome. So the thing that I find really cool about you is you own Sandbox Studios in Regent Park.
Mm-hmm.
You recently opened a second location.
Yep.
You're expanding throughout Canada, possibly.
That's the hope.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
And also, you're kind of you're doing your thing, and I can see that you're more and more public, and you're all over the place. You're in LA, you're in Miami, you're all over the place, but you're still working really, really hard.
100%.
And so how do you balance all of this?
So maybe a year ago, I felt not a year, maybe a little over a year, I felt I had my hands in a lot of things. So I had a radio show, and I was doing branding and marketing, and I was consulting, and then I had Sandbox, and then I worked with artists, and then I did this, and then I did that. And I kind of felt it was pulling me in all these different places, and I was really overworked and overwhelmed. And, I went into a lot of these spaces where I would retreat. So I'd be working, and people would text me or call me, and I didn't want to talk to anybody because mentally I was just exhausted. And I didn't really have a plan, so I was saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
And I used to watch this movie called Eastmond by Jim Carrey, with Jim Carrey in it. And the whole idea of saying yes to everything so that it opens doors, you never know where that will lead, which is very true. Every time you say yes, a door will open and you'll walk through it. But I started to realize the only progress I was making was walking through doors and then not going on the journey after I got through the door. And so I decided to align everything that I do to have one intention. So, everything that I did had to, last year, everything I did had to impact Sandbox. So, I stepped down from the radio show, even though it was good for Sandbox for artists to come to a Sandbox and be oh, well, the owner has a radio show. This is a great relationship and connection. I realized that it really wasn't that valuable because I wouldn't put people's songs that come to Sandbox on the radio per se, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I wanted to start to detach myself from certain things and then build new relationships. So all I did was work on Sandbox for 1 year straight. Tidying things up, building a real business. So reading as many books about business development, what it means to be a boss, how to be a good boss, how to develop a team dynamic, how to expand, the difference between, passive income and having to go to work. Right now, my studios are running and there's money being made and I'm here doing this and I can take that money and then reinvest it into Sandbox without feeling, distressed or what I mean. So totally. I learned a lot about passive income and just money management, team management, and then everything I did had to do with either building the Rookz brand or building Sandbox.
So it sounds to me, like you got very clear.
Very, very, very clear.
And what does clarity feel? What does clarity feel like?
Clarity makes it really easy to know. For example, I got a great opportunity the other day to be casted in a film. And it would have taken a lot of time away from me. To be honest, it would have been a huge opportunity. It was a big director, but at the end of the day, clarity gives me the opportunity to say no to things that just aren't, a part of my plan. I think that it's really easy to jump at opportunities, but when you have clarity, it's that's a great opportunity. Universe, I am so grateful that you presented this opportunity. And I'm going to let the person that gave me the opportunity know that I am so grateful for it, but it's not a part of my vision for myself right now.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually was really, really curious because I remember you coming into yoga.
All flustered all the time?
All flustered.
100%.
And I've even I mean, I've worked with you privately as well, and I know how hard you work. I actually don't know very many people who work as hard.
That is very humbling. I appreciate that.
As hard as you.
Thank you.
What are some of the things that you are seeing that are happening in Toronto with young artists? What kind of moves are they making? You know, like the mistakes that I've made, those mistakes where I'm running around trying to do too many things, or you're running around trying to do too many things. What kind of mistakes are young artists making, trying to make it? I actually watched a recent interview with you.
Yeah.
Which I got so much good information from that interview. So that's kind of why I'm asking this question.
I think that being an artist is very different than, let's say, being a chef, right? Like when you're a chef, you know, it's very clear the ingredients you need to make, I don't know, risotto, right? Like you can't find like a wrong way to make risotto. So you practice that and you execute it perfectly, and you'll know when you have like a perfect risotto. With artistry, with music, especially in the music business, because I work in that, it's difficult, right? Like risotto is different to everyone, and everyone feels like it tastes differently, and it can look different. And so, your only job to me, as a young artist, and some of the mistakes that I see being made, is there's a lack of development in transferable skills, right? So, I'll see a piano player, for example, a pianist, and he plays for everybody, he gigs for everybody, but he can't read music. Right? Like that's fundamentally a problem, right? Like if you don't have the basic core set of skills to help you propel yourself into the next level, because what I see a lot of other places is there's a lot of core skills. So like, you know, one day we were in Buffalo and Layla had a rehearsal and she had 3 backs and there was 5 people in the band, and we're in Buffalo, and the backs at the end of the session, like we jammed out, and the backs there were 2 girls and 1 guy. And the 2 girls could play the drums, the bass guitar, and the acoustic guitar, and like could like say, yo, give me a G, that's not something I really see a lot in music in Toronto. There's not a lot of like the basic skills. Like if you're a producer, it doesn't matter how good your beats are, take piano lessons. It's like super simple. Piano lessons help give you the chords, they help you understand music. If you're a producer, learn to engineer. The better you can mix your instrumentals is the better your music is gonna sound. You know, if you're a singer and you don't write songs really well, read more books. Read books about how to write good songs. Like, it's so interesting. Like, the information is always there. It's just like people choose not to use the information. Like, we could all be much more wealthy than we are now, right? Yeah. But we would have to do the work to learn how to do that. So if you put away $100 for the next 40 years, you're gonna retire, or you know, I'm 28. You know, in 40 years when I'm 68, I will be able to be a millionaire. Like, right? Like these are really small pieces that at 68 I can retire with $1 million in my bank account because of compounded interest. But if you don't read that, you don't know. Yeah. And so I think like a lot of like the work and like thinking about like the long term and playing the end game, because you might not become Rihanna, but if you got your songwriting skills up, you might write for Rihanna. You might not become Rihanna, but if you practice vocal every day with all the free resources on YouTube of making your voice stronger and better, you might be Rihanna's background vocalist. Like, I think there's so many people that are obsessed with like getting to becoming that person that they don't do the work to be in the industry, because there's so many opportunities to work in the music industry. You know what I mean? So
it sounds like you're speaking a lot about like getting really clear and defining and getting better at your skills and learning your craft. Really.
100%. I feel like for me, like there's a lack of learning your craft. Like, for example, not to throw any shade, like we rent Sandbox out to other engineers as well. And you know, this past week there was an engineer and they had a session with somebody who really could not sing, like at all. And all that happened was she sang every note wrong and he put auto-tune on it. And at the end of that, like she was so happy. And for me, that's really problematic. And if you come to Sandbox Studios, you know that we don't do that. Like, some people don't enjoy being there because you're going to be told to do it again. Because we want to build your skill, of being actually able to sing, so that you're not comfortable with not doing well, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in like effort awards, you know what I mean? Like, you give effort, and effort turns into momentum, and momentum turns into discipline. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like you constantly should be getting better. You know, Beyonce still does vocal every single day. Beyonce. If Beyonce does an hour of vocal every day, bro, you need to do 12. You need to do 12 hours a day. Like, how dare you feel like you cannot do vocal before coming to record or going to sing? And so, like, these are like the little things that, like, I think that are missed. Like, you can always get better. Like, you know, I do marketing and branding. Like, every morning I watch 2 hours of lynda.com every day. Like, how to become a better digital marketer, how to use search engine optimization, how to, like, just understand the entire, like, inside out. Like, I want to know marketing inside out, like the psychology of marketing, the outcomes of marketing, the analytics of marketing. Like, when somebody asks me a question, I should be able to understand it in its entirety, right? Before I dare ask for a penny for my you know, information. Exactly.
Yeah. I actually read this really cool fact that by 2020, there will be 3 to 5 more billion people online.
That's
Which means
crazy.
that by 2020, everyone in the world, almost everyone in the world is going to be online.
And that's why, like, people like Warren Buffett, who have access to information like that, just pulled $90 million out of owning Walmart, because he knows in the next couple of years he's going to lose every dollar, because Walmart's not going to be what it used to be. Amazon's going to take over. You know, everyone pays for Amazon Prime right now, but it's not going to be Amazon Prime. It's just going to be Amazon. You're just going to order your stuff, and it's going to come the next day for free, or it's going to come that day for free, or in a couple hours for free. So, you know, going back to like what you said, like that little piece of information, and this is why reading is so important. If I know that in 2 years, that many more people are going to be online, I've just increased my marketplace by over, like, what, 500%. I know that going into some service or some way to get online is the best way for me to make money. And that's the best way for me to invest my time and my capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hearing